Kothari, founder of iSpy, and I am GlobalSpa Fit and Fab. My fitness mantra is to be consistent. My wellness philosophy is that wellness is a 360-degree approach. So it starts with your mind and your body and everything that you surround yourself with. So my fitness routine on a day-to-day basis, I've actually had a journey with the word fitness. I never used to be a workaholic or going to the gym every day as a teenager or as in college. This journey actually started after I got married. And that's when I realized that fitness is something where you have to, number one, stay consistent, even if you do, whether that means incorporating it into your lifestyle with taking more steps, going and getting, picking things up yourself, going and running errands yourself, doing the small things, just consistently being active. The second thing is working out. I work out 3 days a week consistently, no matter where I am. I try and squeeze in that workout. And finally, nutrition. So I think nutrition has been the hardest one for me because, growing up, I never controlled what I ate. So it was actually unlearning a lot of things. I have a lovely nutritionist who I work with for the last 5 years. And she's really helped me understand food because I cannot control. I'm not one of those girls that, I have really bad self-control. If you put something in front of me, I will eat it. So really trying to understand that I can do that and at the same time be fit. So how to kind of navigate nutrition, body and mind. I go to therapy very often. I'm huge on mental therapy as well. So I think the combination of those three is sort of my fitness schedule on a daily. So before I had my baby, right now I'm breastfeeding, so I'm not able to go do intermittent fasting. I used to do intermittent fasting. It worked for me, just given my hectic lifestyle. The second thing is trying to stay hydrated. I know it's really hard, but trying to have like 3 to 4 liters of water. Of course, as a breastfeeding mom, you end up having to have that much water. So I think that's become more of a habit and I'm really happy about that. The third thing is, which has been my biggest sort of, how do I say this? What I actually follow as a rule is what my nutritionist has advised is when you take a plate, load it up 50 to 60% with vegetables and start with that first. Then have your protein, which is 30% of your plate, and the remaining 25% of your carbs. And obviously treat yourself to a sweet as well after that. And I think that is an easier mantra to follow, even if you're going out for dinner, you're going for lunch, any of that, just because, you look at your plate and you're able to sort of just section it out and say, hey, I've got my nutrients in there. I think that it also required a level of unlearning because I feel like we're so used to having our roti and sabzi together or our rice dal together. So that unlearning took me quite a while. But now that I'm able to eat my food groups separately, I think that really helps. And it also allows me to eat everything I like. I feel awesome, genuinely. And I think especially I feel awesome that it's at this phase in my life because I think that, like I said, growing up, I was never into fitness or nutrition, but over the last 10 years, I think that it has to be a part of your life, not your entire life. And that's what I've really strived towards. I had my children at 31 and 35, and I have to say, I'm so proud. I've never been fitter than today. And you often hear the reverse, right? Where people say, have your kids earlier, you're never going to be as fit at 35. I can vouch that I am way fitter at 35 than I ever was at 23. And I think that in itself, for me, I feel so happy that is being recognized and I feel extremely grateful. So me, balancing work and kids, I think that's what you'll hear many parents say. The word balance is the overall concept. So what that means is, for example, very honestly, I'm giving a expressed bottle to my daughter at this moment, right? So what you have to choose your days in phases. So I was gone for the weekend with my husband. So that was time with my husband in Paris. We left our children. Today, I'm having a very intense work day because it's back to a Monday. But for example, tomorrow, I have a whole day planned with my daughters because I have to take them for a class, for a birthday party. So of course, that's when my husband and my work will take a little bit of a backseat. And I think that is what it really boils down to is figuring out that which day, month, or phase is dedicated to which aspect of your life. So you will probably achieve a balance on the overall, but on a single day, balance doesn't exist. And I think the other part is that one agreement I had with my trainer was that I shifted my workout from the mornings to the evenings, because I basically made my children part of my workout. So instead of doing a hardcore 1 hour workout, I take an off-peak hour with my trainer and I work out for an hour and a half. But my daughter does lunges with me. My younger one, my 3 months old, she's sitting on her chair and getting stimulated. We do weights together. I use my daughter as like a squat weight. So it becomes like they also kind of become part of your fitness journey, and they see their mom putting in a lot of effort into herself from day one, and we get to have some fun together. So I think that from a very young age, I often hear of people saying, I want to do something of my own. This is something which a lot of people love to say, and they really pride themselves on that. I worked in corporate for 10 years, and I started my company somewhere in the middle of that, and now I work on my company full time. I think the few important things I would say about this is that, number one, it is very hard. And I think that anybody that tries to sugarcoat it or say otherwise, they're not telling you the whole truth. I think that the emotional highs and lows are extremely magnanimous when you're doing something of your own, if you're doing it with 100% passion, right? And I think you have to be prepared for that. You're going to have a lot of low days and a lot of high days. So preparing yourself for that is the best sort of advice I can give, that it's normal. You will have a lot of breakdowns. You will have a lot of days where you doubt yourself. That is normal, but be prepared for that, because it's not an easy, I don't think anything is an easy roller coaster ride. Absolutely. But especially this. And I think the second part is for anybody that's doing this with a family. It was an advice that another entrepreneur gave me, is that entrepreneurship is a family venture. So it's actually contradicting what a lot of people think. But if your partner and your kids are not in agreement with your business, that's going to be an issue, because eventually a lot of the sacrifice has to be borne by them. They have to kind of step in, like your kids have to be okay with it. Your husband or your partner has to be okay with it, your wife. So make sure that it's a family decision. And I think those are my two sort of, learnings there. While yes, of course, success means, let's say, achieving a goal or a target. Over the years, I've had to redefine my definition of success, because that in itself can be very limiting. I think success is growth. So at every point, if you see that you're growing somewhere, right? So I'll give you an example. I had to take maternity leave after starting my business, because I decided to have a child, and that was my decision to say, hey, I want to bring a child into this world, which means that I need to give myself, my body, my child, that kind of mental presence and energy, right? Now, at that point, I had to obviously take a step back from being present every day in the business. And I felt like, maybe I'm not succeeding right now because we're not hitting the targets that we had. However, I did succeed, because at that point, my company went on. My team members did their work. They pulled up their socks and they performed better than ever in their roles. And I think that in itself is success, right? Because at every phase, success is going to have a very different definition. And I think that is what is really important, to remind yourself that when you look back a week from today, a month from today, have you grown or not as a person, as a business, as a team, whatever that is?